今アメリカで話題になっているのがSAVE法案です。これは選挙に登録するときに自分がアメリカ市民だと証明する書類を出そうというルールです。この法案をめぐってアメリカでは賛成と反対の意見が大きく分かれています。
So, leaving the House floor, we just passed the Save America Act, voter ID, proving you're an American to vote in our elections, common sense stuff. We passed it off the floor of the House. All Republicans in support, all Democrats in opposition. That's just crazy. It makes no sense to me. 80% of the American people, black, white, Hispanic, Republicans, Democrats, everybody supports it. All the Democrats vote against it. But we're undeterred. It's not going to go to the Senate. The Senate's going to have to take it up. And it's time for the Senate to get the job done and get this bill to the desk of President Trump so we can be signed into law. Good day for America here on Capitol Hill. I'll see you soon.
So now we do have to be concerned about the SAVE Act because it just passed the House across party lines, and Republicans in the Senate are going to try to implement a process to get it pushed through there before midterms. And the SAVE Act is part of the big propaganda that's being pushed, claiming this will prevent people who are undocumented from voting. It's a fact that people who are not documented do not vote. Okay, it's a fact. Look up your state. See how many people were prosecuted for attempting to vote or get registered to vote because they were undocumented. So what is this really about? Why, besides propaganda and fear-mongering? It's because of this one thing. When there's a strong voter turnout, Democrats win. That's it right there. So what does this mean? When you go to register to vote, your driver's license no longer counts as sufficient identification. If you're already registered to vote, and in the future, your city or county decides to update their voter rolls and wants everybody to re-identify themselves, your driver's license at that point will no longer be considered sufficient. What will be considered sufficient? A birth certificate or a passport. So, a passport. Who gets a passport? People who travel internationally. There's something like 37 million registered voters who do not have passports because they don't travel internationally, because they don't have the money is the number one reason. There's other reasons. They got a fear of flying, or they've got a medical condition, but by and large, it's people who can't afford to travel internationally. And Trump supporters, if you think it's only liberals that are in this category, think again, because I have a sneaky suspicion this is going to affect a lot of you. And then a lot of us don't have our birth certificates anymore, depending on how old you are. Maybe you were adopted and now you're 18, you want to go register to vote. Maybe you're a homeless, 25-year-old, you don't have access to your birth certificate. That's going to be a problem. And then there's 69 million women who have different last names from their birth names because they got married. And if you don't have your marriage certificate, you're screwed. So this is all about making sure there's no big voter turnout so that Republicans can win. This is what this is about. My only advice to everybody is, do your darndest to figure out a way. Pay the money to go get a passport. You can even do it online now. Ask your relatives if you don't know where you were born, and then contact the hospital and get a copy of your birth certificate. Get another copy. Find out how to get a copy of your marriage certificate. Just figure out a way, okay? I gotta tell you, this is going to impact a lot of Trump voters too. This really is. Nobody said Republicans were smart. Nobody.
This is not a conspiracy. It's just the truth. Right now, Republicans in Congress are pushing the SAVE Act 2.0 to prevent millions of Americans from exercising their right to vote. And would you believe it? They found a way to make the SAVE Act even worse. And let's be clear, this is not a voter ID law. This is a show me your papers mandate that would require Americans to bring their passport or birth certificate in person to register to vote and to bring those papers with them when they actually vote. A driver's license alone wouldn't be enough, and the vast majority of Americans wouldn't be allowed to use their real ID to prove citizenship. Here are the facts. Half of Americans, or 140 million people, don't have a passport. Young people and low-income people and people who move a lot don't have these documents easily accessible. People in rural communities will be forced to drive hours just to register to vote. And it will impact many women who get married and change their last name and then have different names on different documents. This would change the way all Americans vote on enactment. There is no delay to make sure that states can get used to this new law. No more online voter registration, no more mail-in registration, no more voter registration drives. And if you still want to vote by mail, you'll have to jump through even more hoops and include copies of your identity documents with your ballot, leaving you ripe for identity theft. That will happen unless your state hands over their voter rolls to DHS so that they can do a voter citizenship verification. But 24 states plus DC have refused to hand over their voter rolls to the federal government, and for good reason. All of these steps will create barriers for so many Americans to not be able to vote. We are literally talking about millions of Americans not being able to vote. That's why I voted no on the last version of this bill and why I'll vote no again today. And let me just reiterate this fact. There have been a lot of studies that show that there is no widespread voter fraud in our federal elections, which means this bill isn't even solving a problem. It's just creating a giant new one. And this is all part of a broader pattern. Donald Trump and his administration want to silence you, want to take away your constitutional rights. They want to take away free speech, they want to stop you from protesting, and now they want to take away your right to vote. But we can't let them. We've seen recently that Donald Trump and my Republican colleagues are not immune from public pressure. So we need to keep making our voices heard and make sure that the SAVE Act does not become law. Please share this video if you agree.
SAVE法案のポイントは、選挙をより安全にするかと誰でも参加しやすくするかのバランスです。賛成派はルールをはっきりさせれば信頼できる選挙になると考えています。一方で反対派はパスポートや出生証明書をすぐ出せない人も多く、特に地方の人やお金に余裕のない人に負担がかかると言っています。法案は今後どうなるのか注目されています。あなたはどう思いますか？最後までご視聴ありがとうございました。